Hello dear students, welcome to English class. Today we will do topic of writing section, that is story writing. In this section we will come to know how to write down a story. As it is well known that listening story is an art. If we listen the story carefully and interestingly, it seems very interesting and it seems very motivating to the listener. Similarly, telling story is also an art. If anybody has a good way of telling the story, then he can easily create the interest of the listener in that story. On the same way, writing story is also an art. So to write down a story, what points one should keep in the mind, or how we should be careful writing a story writing, let us come to know and discuss. Actually, what is a story? Story is a work of fiction or imagination that is usually written in easily understandable grammatical structure with natural flow of speech. So it means this is a fiction or imagination, right? And that can easily be understood by the reader with grammatical structures also, and there should be a natural flow of speech so that the reader cannot feel disturbed while reading the story. There are some five elements of the story which should always present in any kind of story writing. First is theme, central theme of the story. So whatever the story is written, it should be based on some theme, some moral, some value, some purpose should be there. Next comes the character. One character should be the main character, or you can say the central character of the story. Along with this, two or three supporting characters should be there so that the scene or the story or the location or the happening of the story, the incidents of the story can be made more interesting. Next comes the setting. In the setting of the story, description of scene like location, context, atmosphere. So which is the location of the story, in which context the story is developing, or what is the atmosphere of the story, means the story is humorous, the story is serious, adventurous, like this. Next comes the plot of the story. Here, the plot of the story is an important part because there is a sequence of events and actions. So, which action should come first, which scene should come the next, and which occurrence should come in the next step. That should also be kept in mind so that the story can have a proper flow, fluency, and the reader can be bound to read the story from beginning to end. Next comes the conflict, the surprise element. So, in any of the story, there should always be a conflict because after the conflict, the story goes to its climax and then the ending can easily be declared or be accepted by the reader. So, dear friends, these were some elements of the story which everyone should keep in mind while writing a story so that he can be able to justify the story writing. Along with this, there are some key points which also should be kept in mind while writing a story. First is we should keep in mind the target group and choose a subject according to the listener's age. Or, along with this, whatever type of the story or state situations has been given, we should develop the story in the likely manner. Think of a plot and make a rough sketch. So, before writing a story, we should always think a plot. Means we should always have a chronological order of the incidents which we want to put into that story, and by doing this there should be a rough sketch with us so that it can be easy to develop the story in a final way. We should be precise about different characters of the story. So the different characters of the story should be precise. It means they should be clustered together in such a manner that they should be seemed connected to each other and true or very near to the context. Give a suitable or attractive title. Before writing a story, if the title is not mentioned, it is not so much attractive for the reader. If the title is attractive, title is very much suitable, and it creates the clink in the mind of the reader. It creates a, a thought in the mind of the reader, then what should be there? Let us read. This kind of title should be in the story writing. In the story, we should use simple language because it is easy to make the reader understand all the concepts, all the happenings, all the situations. And vocabulary also should be simple so that the reader can read it and understand it easily, and then he can give his feedback to the story in a proper manner. If he won't understand the story, he won't be able to take interest in that story. Might be possible he won't read the story completely. Next comes maintain coherence and fluency. So the fluency of the incidents, it should be it a proper flow, it a proper order, and along with this they should be coherent, they should be connected to each other. Give a conclusion at the end. Every story should have its end, as every story should have its happy ending, or it cannot be happy, depends upon the story. But most probably, the story should have an happy ending, or as a solution of any issue which is being started in the story. The next is there, we should revise the draft. So, making our story in a final form or giving it a final form, we should revise all the things so that all the necessary corrections can be made, and if there is some any change is required, then it also can be edited. After editing all the concepts, all the things, all the points, we should make a final draft of our story. So, dear students, these were some points to be kept in the mind before writing down a story so that one can be able to develop a story in a fullest effective manner. Let us have some example of the story so that we can be able how to develop and how to create the imagination power into the form of a fiction, into form of a writing a story. Imagine that you are Jeet or Geeta. You have moved into a new house and decide to explore a little. After an hour of going through the rooms, you stumble into the basement. Here you have here you find a small diary. The diary tells you the story about the person who lived in this house before. Use your imagination to complete the story. So, dear students, here you have been given a situation. On the basis of that situation, one has to develop the story. This is also done for you. Let us read. 21 June 1920. It happened again. I have tripped on the stairs and bruised my shin. It feels as if the house is changing with every new season, or maybe I'm just growing old. My grandchildren came for a visit, and John, the youngest, told me he'll look at the floorboard in the stairs. It'll be something easy to fix. I'm assuming. 23rd June 1920. The TV keeps going on about the war. The village was also in a line of fire. Luckily, I managed to move out just before it happened. When I came back, the house wasn't that dirty. Maybe someone had used it as a shelter. I don't care about who stayed in the old house. When you are in your 80s, there is very little that you care about except for the annoying visitors who keep trying to enter my house on some pretext or the other. The same three people keep visiting. They look very fishy. 24 June 1920. My grandson came in to have a look and we decided that the next day we'd break the floorboard and fit in a new piece. The old house is getting really old. 25th June 1920. I can't believe it. This is like a Christmas miracle in the middle of summer. After deciding to break the boards and put in new ones, my grandson John gets his hammer and starts breaking them. The moment he took out one of the floorboards, he found a lot of money and jewelry. It was as if the stairs was hiding a secret and couldn't keep in and had to tell someone that someone was me. A few days later, I found out that the three visitors were the same people who took shelter in my house after they told me their secret. I was reluctant, but I gave them that treasure. They were embarrassed at my gesture and decided to take only a portion of the treasure. If you are reading this diary, then go check the last floorboard on the stairs. So, this is the story. It means in that story, some kind of mystery is there, and the mystery can be possible to make the interest in the mind of the reader. So, such kind of story can also be developed. In this way, some humorous story can be there, some adventure story can be there, some incidents can also be shared in the form of imagination. Some factual incidents can also be shared along with adding some interesting punches. So, in this way, we people can easily develop a story by keeping all the things in our mind before starting the story writing. So, dear student, I hope you have understood how to write a story. Thank you and have a nice day.